One of the nicest moments I've had recently with art was when I went back home. So I'm originally Spanish and I live in a very rural area. So I went off to the sea, basically. I went off to a very rocky beach and I went off to these rocks in the middle of the sea and I just began drawing in charcoal, just everything I could see. And there was a huge storm coming and I just felt so happy and so free in that moment that, you know, I get to do this for a living, I get to do my art and I get to see all these beautiful places and then draw them. And I think, honestly, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I sort of think of like the nicest memory I have. I just felt amazing. But yeah. Hi, I'm Caro. I'm a South London-based fine artist and this is Art in Me with Rebel Dixon. To be honest, it's the cliche of every artist. I've always painted, I've always drawn. And I was just thinking the other day, like, I've wanted to go down so many paths in life. I wanted to be a firefighter, a vet. I wanted to go into physics at one point because I really liked that. But the one thing I always came back to was art. There was just, I'd have seasons where I'd drift away from it, but then I'm always coming back. I think when you're meant to be an artist, you don't get to run away from it. It's gonna find you. As ominous as that sounds, it's gonna find you always. But there was one like really pivotal moment that was kind of when I dived into it as a career. And I was in sixth form. I left my art classes to do physics because I thought that would be a more sort of reliable career. And, you know, people at school actually used to laugh at me a lot. And they were like, you know, oh, I'm doing science because I'm doing a real career. And it was just, it really got into my head. And I'm a bit ashamed to admit it, but I ended up leaving art because of it. And I lasted about a month in physics and I called my mum crying over a textbook and I was like, I can't do this. And then that same month I decided I was dropping out of sixth form and I was going to art college. And I just came back to it. I went back into my sixth form art classes for about another month or two, finished the year. And then I went to UCA in Epsom and started professionally. I started selling my art. I started just getting my art out there. And it felt amazing and I do not regret a second of it. Because I studied a lot of ethnobotany, especially when I got at the start of art college, I'm really interested in plants and the sort of uses in plants. So I'm half Spanish on my mum's side, but on my dad's side I'm half Colombian. And so they use a lot of medicinal plants and sort of traditional remedies and that interested me a lot. And in my search for that, as I was doing these projects, I found this artist on YouTube called Caro. So she has the same name as me as well. And she just does these beautiful, just painstakingly detailed drawings and paintings using like natural pigments as well of fungi and small plants and things she sees through microscopes. And she works very much listening to her body, so she doesn't work the whole month. She will take a week off during her menstruation. She will take like time off to do cacao ceremonies, and she does these beautiful works whilst listening to her body and what she needs. So I really admire that in her, and that's something that I really want to implement into my practice. So I love her work, I love her approach to her practice, I love her. I just think she's great, and she's someone that I really looked up to as a role model when I sort of started all of this. So I do majorly oil paintings, and I really like sort of realism, almost magical realism in some of them, but I really love plants, I love people, I love exploring myself and my memories through my work. So I'm very big on painting family members, painting plants, trying to kind of bring this inside world here and how I view the world and piece those fragments and bring them out into these paintings. So I really like adding a lot of life and movement into everything I paint. There's a painting I have as well that I wanted to show that I created during a cacao ceremony. So I did a solo cacao ceremony, and it was something that same artist that I spoke about, Caro, she actually inspired. It's very different to all my other work. It's very abstract, but I just felt like I kind of went into this trance for a minute and I just let it flow out. I wasn't thinking about rules, I wasn't thinking about colors, tones, values, nothing. I saw bright colors and I was just putting everything down, and it was amazing. So So this is a piece, it's untitled. I call it different things. I call him Spirit sometimes just untitled. But this was a piece I actually did during a cacao meditation, which is a sort of traditional ceremony that you sometimes do during celebrations and whatnot. But it was something that you sometimes also do when you're feeling a bit down, you're feeling a bit closed off. So the cacao kind of opens you up. And so I decided I just felt so creative while I was drinking. And as I was drinking the cacao, I just took a hold of these paints. I had this canvas and I just let the brush go. I cannot say I painted this because I just wasn't there. It was just very much a process of just, I was just going through some things and I just really needed to sit with myself. And while I sat with myself, this kind of started creating itself. And I just had these warm colors in mind, and it was just reds and oranges and yellows. And this piece just started to come to life and these eyes started drawing themselves out. And it was just very, very healing. And I think this energy, this painting for me holds a lot of energy. And you know, it's up for sale now because I have no space. I have so many paintings in the house, but it was definitely one that was a lot harder to let go. It took me almost a year to even think about putting it out for sale. And I mean, I think it's time now, but it's just it's a painting that it holds so much energy to it. And it was something that really, I know it looks like a kid could have done it, but it did help me through a lot that time. So this is the first out of my most recent series from Escenas Costumbristas, and it explores typical everyday scenes of the Galician countryside. I get very homesick, even though I moved to the UK like 11 years ago. The nostalgia just never went away, and so I did a study abroad in Spain for a semester, and I spent a lot of time with my family in that time. And I missed them so much. I just wanted to paint them. I wanted to have a little fragment of them with me that wasn't just pictures, something I could consciously spend time doing. So this one is called Bañando Herba and it's oil on canvas. And this is my uncle-in-law's mum grabbing grass. And so a lot of older women, so she's a lot older and she still has all this flexibility on her body because it's something that you do your whole life basically. And then you kind of give it to livestock. When you pick it with your hands as opposed to a scythe, it's usually because you just have chickens and you don't have any big cows or any big animals to sort of give it to. So this is her garden. She has all these beautiful plants around her, and I really wanted to capture how sort of in her element she is and how many pretty colors and how much green there is around her. So there's just so much nature that she spends her time in. So it's big favorite piece for me because it got the series started. So this is gonna be one of 3. I so far have 2 done, and then I'll see where I take the series from there. This is the second out of 3 paintings from my Escenas Costumbristas. So again, depicting very much life in rural Spain, in the north of Spain. And this is actually my grandma. She hates this painting. She thinks she looks fat and she wishes I hadn't painted her. But she said it's very good because she can recognize herself. So I only listened to that last bit so she can recognize herself. This is her basically making bobbin lace, which is a very, very expensive type of lace that a lot of grandmas in France and Spain just like doing in their spare time, which I think is amazing because I've grown up with it and I've always just thought it was an old people activity. And as I've gotten a bit older, I've kind of seen the complexity of it and the art that sort of goes into it. And I appreciate it so much more now. And the angle I've painted her from, this is a view that I see every single day when I'm back home. So she has her seat on the sofa, and she's very short, so she puts some cushions behind her, and I'm always sat to the right of her. I'm always watching her just do her thing. I can see the kitchen in the background. And I felt so homesick the day I was painting this. I really wanted to have something that I could look at, that I've spent time making, and I was like, yeah, this is home, this is where I love being, so I could immerse myself in it even though I'm away from home. So this one was an emotional one for me. I did cry a few times while I painted it. I also cried from having to paint the pattern on her t-shirt. She does not wear plain clothes. ever. She does not have any plain t-shirts, so that was a headache. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites to paint. So the process behind my artwork is very much, I always say this, and I always say this anytime I write about my work, sometimes I don't even feel like I'm the one painting them. I feel like the paintings paint themselves. So I get these ideas, and then as soon as I start making them, it's like my hand, I'm not even in control of it. The canvas, things start appearing. It's like I start seeing the painting and I just start carving it out onto the canvas. So it feels like it's already there, and I'm just this sort of channel for it to breathe life into itself. I don't even feel like I'm in control when I'm doing these things. It just, you know, people ask me a lot of the times, like, oh, like teaching people how to paint and whatnot, but it's difficult for me because I'm not thinking, I'm not there, I'm just, suddenly I'm inside the painting and the painting's inside of me, and it's this whole sort of thing of, I black out and then I'm back and I'm like, oh, well, that's almost done. So it's a very strange process and of bouncing off each other. I feel like it's a conversation with the painting. So I'm not forcing anything onto the painting, and a lot of the times the paintings tell me when they're done. I sound crazy right now, but when a painting's done, I don't decide it. The painting tells me it's finished and I don't touch it anymore. And then that's it. The painting is finished. And sometimes the painting will, I feel this like need to go over a painting again in a few months, but that's when the painting decides it. It feels like once it's finished, it's got its own life, a mind of its own, and then I just have to follow what the painting tells me. Some advice I'd have for any young creatives, or any creatives really, is just get out there. And I was just saying to Ravel that there is a fear of success. You're gonna be scared. You think you want these things, you think you want this success, and you do. But as soon as you start getting closer, you start self-sabotaging. And you start, you know, oh, maybe I shouldn't go there, maybe I shouldn't do this. If you're not scared, you're going in the wrong direction. You have to be scared, you have to go through the fear. And once you go through there, that's where the good stuff is. Do it scared. As cliche as it sounds, as Instagram entrepreneur as it sounds, all of that stuff, do it scared, and that's some of the best advice I could give you. Be scared, do the big things, the things where you think you don't belong, that's where you belong the most. All these big events, these big awards, nothing is ever out of reach. If you think it's out of reach, then it will be, because you're putting these blocks down for yourself. And it's easy to say, but the moment you get there, you start realizing, oh God, like this is big, it really feels like I can't get through this. You can, always can, just keep pushing. And when it feels solid, keep pushing even more. There's nothing that can't be achieved, nothing.